Hello and welcome to this chat show with me, Durjay. Today I'm with my guest is Devon Campbell. He is the founder of RadWorks and one of my uh, first mentors whom started following. Uh, he has a his agency RadWorks is actually a web consultancy and agency focusing on web development and marketing strategy. His personal website is raddevon.com, which is actually a treasure trove for those who want to be a professional freelancer in web development. Uh, his articles are famous in magazines like Entrepreneurs. So I found about him at the beginning of my freelancing journey, and I've been getting value from his emails and stuff. Welcome. Thank you for being here, Devon. I'm going to
Thank you
start.
for having me, Joy.
Yes. So the first question, of course, I'm going to ask you is, how was your journey?
How's my journey so far in terms of getting started in web development or in terms of helping other people get started? Or both?
Actually, both.
Yeah, okay. I will start with my journey because that's kind of chronologically the starting point. I was working in IT for a small school system in rural Tennessee, like the southeast United States. I wasn't making very much money. My job wasn't very satisfying, and I just felt like I needed something different. So I decided to try to push into web development. It was something I'd been interested in for a long time, so it kind of felt like a natural segue anyway. But it completely changed my life. Like I went from scraping by, living paycheck to paycheck, to being able to choose to live wherever I wanted to, and having lots of autonomy at work, and having the ability to be creative and do creative work, because really, like, software engineering is creative work. And it was such a revelation for me that my life could change so much on the back of these few decisions. And I wanted to share that with other people. So that's where I came into helping others, and that's how you stumbled upon me. And it is like hearing you give that intro and tell about your journey, how you knew how to write software, but you didn't know how to make it work, and then you were able to find some inspiration from me and probably from some other sources, and now you're getting work. That sort of creates this inspiration feedback loop and inspires me again to go keep doing that.
All right. So, how were you in childhood? I mean,
I was, if you were in class with me, I was like, I want to say this without sounding like I'm really full of myself, but I was one of the smart kids, so I was making good grades. I was kind of a nerd, but I could relate to people pretty well, so I was reasonably popular, at least like elementary and middle school. I was reasonably popular with other kids. I and actually, so being a smart kid worked to my detriment, because I thought, as I was going up through primary school, middle school, and through high school, I thought that because I was one of the smart kids, that I just had to be smart and stuff would be handed to me. So then I got to high school, and I got a 2-year degree from small community college. Didn't really do much beyond that, and then I had a crappy job for many years, like very different crappy jobs for many years, because even if you are, somewhat above average intelligence, it's not handed to you. You have to go get it, and the intelligence doesn't help unless you can recognize that. So it was a real eye opener for me to go into adulthood and figure out, oh wait, this doesn't just happen automatically. You have to go get it, and it took me many years to do that.
So, I mean, uh, how was your learning curve? As you entered into development, did you get all the resources for in the internet, or did you follow some courses?
I did a little bit of everything. So I have a 2-year degree in computer science from that community college I mentioned earlier. And it's funny because no one who has ever worked with me even knows about that. It has not, like, that credential has not helped me get any work. The stuff I learned has been marginally helpful, but I don't know that it wasn't the most amazing computer science program. It did give me some foundational knowledge though, and I'd been curious before then. I took a programming class in high school, and that was helpful just to kind of figure out some foundational concepts. From there, I did a lot of self-teaching. I sort of hit a barrier with the self-teaching and felt like I needed to go further but couldn't on my own. So I signed for an online boot camp, and I did an online boot camp in front-end web development, learned a lot that way. And from there, most of what I learned, I've taught myself, and I've learned on the job while doing freelance work. One thing that's been really cool is if you earn trust, they will hire you to do things that you don't even know how to do. Like, as long as you're forthcoming with them. I've told clients, hey, I would love to help you with this project. I don't know how to do it. I've never done it before, but I'd like to learn. And they'll hire me to do that because they already trust me. And that's the hardest thing for them to find.
And they will pay you in advance to try a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That was a nice beginning. So how was it? How did you get your first client?
My first client came from Reddit. There is a for-hire subreddit, and I just started sort of lurking in that subreddit, looking for jobs that I could do. There weren't many at the time because I wasn't very skilled, but I did happen to stumble upon one. It was a small startup out of New York City. A couple of guys were trying to start together, and they needed a front-end developer to build the UI for them. So I came on and helped them out with that UI, and it went pretty well. For a first job, it was pretty good. And I learned a lot about how to do the work. I learned a lot about how to manage clients. It was a really good experience. I don't know that I would recommend other people starting out that way, but it worked out fine for me.
Yes. Nowadays there are.
How have you been getting clients? I'm curious.
Actually, I got my client. I have been doing free work for one client before. I actually sent you the website. You commented on it that it was actually nice but slow. It was almost 6 months ago, and now the next client I got through a friend of mine actually. So I published in Facebook, created a post that I'm doing this stuff, web development and stuff, and from that friend connected me with the client.
Okay, that's very cool. Has that been a good client for you?
Not really. But
not really. Well, you can't hit a home run on every at bat, right?
Yes.
Some of them are.
But it was an incredible experience. Incredible experience. Right. I got to learn a lot. I would have never learned if I had got that. And that confidence that built my portfolio is already bringing a lot of clients and stuff.
That's fantastic. You can't overvalue the confidence gained by just getting out there and doing it, because it seems so scary before you do it, but then once you actually do it, it's not actually that scary. So then you gain that confidence and you can sell yourself a lot better.
Yes, actually at that moment I was also not confident enough that coding or not if I will be successful, because I was also learning digital marketing. Maybe this was easier, digital marketing go that way. But my intuition told I should take this project and learn something really good, and that foundation was really strong.
Yeah.
And how do you change that mindset from an employee to a business mindset that a freelancer should have?
Yeah. That's tough because, I mean, I can say that here in the US, we're trained, if you go to public school, we're trained to be employees from the very start, right? And it's really tough to break out of that. I think part of it is you just have to be kind of stubborn, maybe a little bit stubborn. And some of it is just getting, like you said before, getting those first few jobs under your belt, just so you have that confidence. And then there was a point for me where I started realizing that if I just sit back and wait for somebody to hand me work and do that work, if that's all I'm doing, then I'm not really giving them all the value of my experience. I need to be able to push against them sometimes if they say, hey, we want to do this, and I know that's a bad idea. I'm giving them more value if I can come and say, actually, that's not the best way to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. Here's what I think you should do, and it's based on X, Y, and Z. If I can do that, that is way more valuable than if I just go and do whatever they tell me. So that means they're getting more out of it. They're more likely to have success from me, so they're more likely to come back. And it also means I can show other people that I'm creating that success, and I can charge them more so that I can make a more sustainable living. As far as how to get there, I don't know. Like the best thing I can think of is like the old adage, fake it till you make it. Like just pretend like you're confident in doing that until you actually are. Um, yeah, that's kind of the best I can come up with.
Like everyone has to go through that imposter syndrome phase.
Oh, yeah. And it doesn't really end either. Just like it ends in certain domains, right? Now I'm confident in pushing back on people and stuff like that. But there are still days when I wake up and I'm working on some problem and I just can't break through. And I start thinking, do I really need to be doing this? Am I cut out for this? Like, why can't I fix this? Why can't I solve this problem? Maybe this is just not the place for me. So I don't know that ever truly ends.
So that seems relatable even to me now. I mean, if I proceed like you, so it will be relatable after a long time. So,
Yeah, I mean, it gets better as you go. It gets better, but it never just completely goes away.
okay. So, how do you deal with insecurities? Uh, do you, I mean, as a freelancer, you have less concern than an employee, like security concerns or more?
Yeah, I think I have fewer because there was something that changed when I realized that I could go out and make a career and I didn't have to wait for someone to hire me. I wasn't dependent on anybody else to earn money. I could go out and find clients and just build my own career from scratch. That was very empowering, and that gives you a security that I don't think you can feel today, at least. Like people used to go to work and they work for the same employer for 30 or 40 or 50 years until they retired. That's not the world we live in now.
Yes.
And when I was an employee, I was always conscious of, oh no, what if I get fired from this job? What's going to happen? How am I going to pay my bills? And now I know that I can fix that on my own. Like I can do it. I don't have to depend on anybody else. Of course, I have to have clients to pay me, but there are tons of clients out there. I just have to go find them.
Yes. So this confidence and finding clients how long it took, how many days it took to get over the fear and gain confidence that yes, you can gain clients.
Yeah. So just like with the imposter syndrome we were talking about earlier, it never really completely goes away. There's always this feeling deep down inside that someday it's all going to disappear and you're going to have nothing and nobody's going to want to hire you. And the way I deal with that, the most effective way, is just looking back and saying, okay, this thing I'm thinking in this moment, does that reflect what has actually happened? And since I have a little bit of history now, I can look back and say, well, no, I've always been able to find some work when I need it. Even if it's not enough work all the time, I've always been able to find something and just keep things going. So yeah, it's about comparing what's in your head, that doubt that's in your head, against your history. And then before that, when I first got started and I didn't have any history to look to, I did freelancing out of necessity because I couldn't get hired. So it didn't really matter. I wasn't getting paid as an employee. So going freelance was no risk for me because I had nothing else. And since I can get hired, that was like the alternative for me, and it happened to work out. And then I started building that history that I can look back to now.
Actually, it started with me like that only.
Yeah.
So another interesting thing, I mean, the freelancing business, you have to make agreements, you have to maybe go into legal confrontation sometimes. Do you faced any legal confrontation with clients?
Not really. Um, the thing about legal confrontations is they are very expensive. So it would be just a massive project for it to even be worth pursuing. Um, I've had to write off some invoices. So I've had invoices that I've billed that just never got paid, and I just had to deal with it. I actually did go and talk to the client and convince them to pay half of it. That was all I ever got, and it wasn't a massive amount of money. So there's no lawyer I could have hired to fix it for less than 3 or 4 times what the amount was. I think it comes down to knowing and trusting your clients and being quick to notice the red flags before you get locked into that client relationship. I think I have avoided lots of legal confrontations by not working with people. And that's really the key. You want to not get into those situations. I've had people try to give me it's a really good idea to start working before they pay me a deposit. I've had people try to convince me that that it would be a pleasure to work for them. I shouldn't be worrying about a contract because they're just so amazing. It would look great if I worked with them. And those are the things that I've learned to recognize, and I just avoid those people because I know that's going to be trouble.
Okay. So don't you think freelancing is a very strong framework for future entrepreneurs?
Oh yeah, I mean it is entrepreneurship. It's just in a narrow domain. It's I'm doing this kind of work. Every other entrepreneur is doing only one kind. So yeah, if you are a freelancer, you are an entrepreneur. So you can take that skill set and apply it to something else. And a lot of people do. A lot of people apply it to building educational products, courses and books and stuff like that. And people apply it to SaaS businesses, software as a service. A lot of freelancers transitioned out of freelancing and built some software that they sell to people now. I think it's a totally natural transition to go from freelance into entrepreneurship. And really, in actuality, they're the same thing.
There have been people who didn't agree with your path, of course. So how did you deal with them?
Yeah. I guess it's like I guess it's like hubris. I feel like I can do it, so I just go, even though they're telling me I can't do it. And having some small successes early sort of fed back into that. And I've failed plenty of times too, so it's not like I've never failed at anything. But I've succeeded at enough that I know it's probably okay to try. And I know that I can reason about this kind of stuff well enough to, you know, to not just like lose a boatload of money trying something. Um, there are bosses that I've quit who, you know, who never thought I would amount to anything. If I had to guess, I would say my parents were probably pretty nervous when I decided to go on my own. But now I've got, like I said before, I've got all this history to look back on, so I can say, well, I was able to do it then, so I can probably do it now. Before it was just probably more confidence than I should have.
I think that's what everyone needs to hear, actually. Yes.
Yeah.
Because,
do you like how are you handling that?
oh my God, it's very tough.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you only had parents. In India, we are all more close, I think. I mean, all relatives are involved in my life. Okay.
Yeah. So you're answering to your parents and your extended family, grandparents, aunts and uncles,
Yes.
all those people, right?
Aunts, uncles,
Yeah.
neighbors, everyone.
Yeah. I mean, that has to make it tougher. It was tough enough for me with my parents, but yeah, that has to make it tougher.
Yes, I think, I mean, that's actually, I almost pride myself as an Indian because of this, because in India the resistance is just beyond imagination than any parts. I mean, we have like cultural heritage conception that we have to do these things and these things, traditional guardians and stuff. A lot of baggage we carry already from birth.
Yeah.
So those are a huge impedance in changing our direction and looking what we really want to do and how we can gain more than others maybe in the long run.
Yeah, I understand that. There's some degree of that here in the States. I think there's kind of a default expectation that you're going to come up and you're going to be an employee. You know, you're going to work for somebody.
It's a
and
default
you have
expectation.
you have to push against that. Yeah. But I can imagine, I can imagine that you're maybe dealing with it stronger, and also you've got more people reinforcing it, more people who are telling you, no, you got to do it this way. So that's got to be tough.
Yes, it's for everyone. Now we are going to focus on freelance developer. Okay, so about as a beginner, if someone decides to start, the first advice would be, besides coding, you also learn how to present yourself, how to do branding, how to communicate, digital marketing basics. Other than that,
Right.
let's focus on the main coding part, because coding actually takes a lot of time to develop the skill. So how would you tell someone who will start developing as a coder? I mean, do you want them to focus on a niche like data scientist or web development or stuff?
I do want them to focus on a niche, but not in terms of the technology that they're going to use. I like for them to focus on a niche in terms of who they're going to serve. And this is back over into the marketing area, but it comes back around in technology, right? So the marketing is so important and it's so underestimated. I think you need to put that first. Who am I talking to and what problems are they having? Okay, now what skills do I need to solve those problems? And then those are the skills you want to focus on. If your portfolio is really practical and it really looks like something that your clients want and need, it's going to be a whole lot easier to sell them on it. So that's kind of where I would focus. What's the technology you need to build the solutions that your people want?
Like, for example, someone wants to go, say, fintech industry. So he may have to focus more on Node.js, building Node.js stuff and payment integration. integration stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, just mold those skills to what your audience needs.
Oh, uh, I use DocuSign for agreements and stuff. What are the tools you use?
Yeah, yeah. I have used DocuSign and I've used other similar stuff like HelloSign. I use Harvest for time tracking and invoicing. I use Xero for accounting. And I don't know if this counts as a tool, but I also hire an accountant to file my income taxes. That's really helpful because I don't know anything about that and don't want to. Um, let's see. I've recently started building a personal knowledge base in an app called Obsidian, and that's so that straddles the line between personal and professional. I use it for both types of things, and that's been really helpful. Um,
So,
and then just stuff everybody uses. Um, I use I use Spark for email. That's probably deeper weeds than you want to go, I guess.
okay. So, when is your app coming to store? Your knowledge base app.
Oh, so this is not my app. This is just an app I'm using, but it is available. There's a desktop app and a mobile app, both available now. It's called Obsidian. I didn't develop it, just to be clear, but I do use it and enjoy it. And it's been really helpful to collect the things I've learned and just kind of keep them all in one place and keep them organized and make it easy to surface those things when I need them. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Uh, you know many other developers, right? You have worked in collaborations. Yes. So
Mhm.
people often ask me, I'm from this background, can I do development? So for them, what is your experience? From which backgrounds have people come to develop?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I've seen people from lots of different backgrounds. I don't know that it matters too much. I think you can come from kind of any background, and it's like it's a good career. So people are coming from every background. I have been running a meetup group for new developers here in Seattle for the past 2.5 years. Actually, I just left the group, but I had been running events for them for 2.5 years, and there were just all kinds of different people from every background you can imagine coming through that. There were kids in college. There were people coming out of food service. There were people who had built careers in other industries and worked in those industries for 20 or 30 years, now transitioning into web development, or other types of development. I think it's a really open space, and you can come from a lot of different backgrounds.
So, I mean, if someone is not an employee and just college pass out, he can start freelancing as his first career. There's no problem, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What's If you can build trust, you can do it. That's sort of the currency that you trade on. If you can show people that they should trust you, then you can write your ticket. You can be a freelancer. You can do it.
That was a nice and very productive talk. I mean, trust me, there will be huge difference in various outlooks of many of my juniors and many of my batchmates too. Hearing this from you. Uh, so, what if you started an agency? You may have maybe growing multiple income sources. What are your future plans?
Right now, I'm really focused on trying to understand how I can best help other people do this, because it had such a profound impact on my life, and I don't think I am extraordinary in any way, so I think other people can do it too. So I'm just trying to understand how best I can convey that to them and how I can build a path for them into that.
Okay, thank you, Devon Campbell. I mean, it's been a really thank you for being my first guest. I didn't thank you for that enough. So I will be sharing your link.
It was my pleasure. It's been a great conversation.
Yes.